Alrighty, covering an A-League match here between jonts and hakha3. Hakha, former league champion, I think a few seasons back, and jonts recently rejoining A-League, although he's been in the top division before. So far, Hakha starting off with a 2-4. Could use a few more wins, but there's plenty of season left to go. First Kingdom. Draw. You got Ninja, Daimyo, Sybil from the Augur pile. Captain, playing a cantrip, would be draw every other turn. Expedition. Expedition is shut down pretty hard by Ninja. So you could have an 11 card hand, you just have to discard all of it. Uh, Villages, Town, Daimyo, Captain, Merchant Camp, Trashing, Remodel, and Priest. Plus buy, Herb Gatherer, Town, Band of Nomads. Where are the favorites coming from? Guildmaster. Oh, Guildmaster looks pretty decent here. Just generate a bunch of favors, and then you could burn them for plus card in your action phase by playing a remodel or an acolyte. Or you could take plus action or plus buy in the buy phase. Yeah, I think draw is a little bit limited, but certainly not absent. Haka, I expect to get a lot of daimyos. He did that too. Annoyingly good effect in a game versus me in the first match. Daimyo is a really strong card. How do you open here? Jot says turn one ninja. Hawkeye has no. Jot has the 5-2. Hawkeye has the 4-3. Yeah, I think ninja makes a lot of sense on the 5-2 because if you have an 11 card deck because you just bought the one thing, um, maybe he'll buy a daimyo, but the point remains because daimyo is a cantrip. If you only have 11 stop cards in your deck, you're guaranteed to be able to play ninja turn 3 because are you? I don't think you're able to see the back of the card on Dominion.games. Anyways, Ninja is always from the bottom of the deck, and you can play it straight from the bottom of your deck. So you can always play it turn 3, and then you'll have seen 7 total cards. Only 4 cards left. You shuffle your deck. Ninja's back on the bottom of the deck. You can play it again turn 4. Whereas if you open like Ninja Silver, for example, you're not playing the Ninja again turn 4. So as far as the card I'd like to open is just a 4, Ninja's way up there. Um, Haka takes remodel. Uh, yeah, unfortunately, Expedition would look lovely here, except you know for sure that John's looking at that ninja. If you Expedition, you're not uh keeping that 7 card hand. All right, yeah, sure enough, Haka with the early daimyo, very much in character. I think I prefer Johnson's position so far. John's by on the previous turn. A captain. I think you just click Expedition here, probably. Yeah. The upside of Expedition is you trigger a shuffle. With exactly 5 cards down there, he'll play Ninja next turn. Um, he could play the Captain as a Ninja, perhaps. Maybe that's better. No, he just buys Expedition. Fair enough. This lets you, as long as you play the Captain as a cantrip, like Town, then you play the Ninja, and then probably the Captain ideally wants to be a remodel, then you can remodel in the following turn. And you've triggered another shuffle. This Ninja is just going to get played every single turn, and then Hawkeye is going to struggle to hit any numbers of relevance here. Hmm. Yeah, Captain seems quite good here. There's a lot of fours you'd be happy to play. Unfortunately, I don't think Haka has an easy path to getting a captain. It's hard to see how you're hitting six from a three card hand anytime soon. Could remodel a four into a captain, maybe? Um, nope. True to form, Hakka just takes more daimyos. None of the daimyo targets are actually all that. I mean, I said this last time. We played a game where Hakka just kept buying daimyo, and I was like, yeah, daimyo's a good card and all, but you have to have some card in your deck you want to play twice. And Hakka was like, no, I just want more daimyos. And I'm looking at this deck, and I mean, remodeling Copper into a state is not even clearly better than nothing. I'd rather trash the Coppers with Priest. So if you're double playing your remodel, unless you happen to draw two estates, that's not great. If you're double playing your ninja, the daimyo is just like it's one card. It's nothing special. I just he doesn't even play it. Yeah. Um, burns his favor just to cantrip the daimyo for +1 point. Okay. Oh, you know what? No, never mind. He played the ninja after that. Okay, that makes more sense. I was surprised that he took the favor just to play the daimyo, but if he's playing the ninja as well, then you're getting a decent chunk of draw out of that. This is a ideal draw for Jonts, but he still looks miles ahead to me. Daimyo, what do you want to multiply? Probably I'd we'll play the town. Shadow cards are not great targets for throne room invariants, like Daimyo, because like playing a ninja, it's effectively as much draw as a moat or a steward or any other like a witch or any other +2 card. It says +1 card, but you didn't have to draw it in hand first to play it. And so if you play a ninja the normal way, you're getting effectively a +1 hand size out of it. But if you throne it, you're only getting another +1 card the second time, and it's not a bona fide +2 because the throne room you still have to draw into your hand. So there's this like implicit +1 card on all the shadow cards because you don't have to draw them in hand first, but you don't get to double that effect. Not that it's terrible or anything, but they're not ideal targets for something like Daimyo. Uh, yeah, I think Haka is going to struggle to deal with these coppers because the oh, he did manage to get to six here. The remodel is not good at killing coppers. In fact, copper is just a better card than a state here. You need a priest in your deck somehow. John's effectively has a priest because he has a captain. Hawkeye, I would expect to pick up a captain here. Then plus Daimyo. I'm doing something in the actions. Oh, he's playing the remodel. I find that surprising. Guildmaster's not a bad card. I guess I understand that. I think I prefer the captain there. Kai's pausing as if he's not obviously going to click Daimyo, but I know better. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's an addiction. Kai's got a problem. So you just take the +2 coins here to get out of debt. You could rebuy another daimyo. You try to draw on. I don't think there's too much down there you're really wanting to draw. Maybe you want to get back around to the captain and the ninja. I'm say take the money, get another daimyo into your deck. I also don't know exactly what's down there. I suppose this could dud spectacularly if Jonts managed to draw no action cards, but yeah, now you're fine. We're looking for that captain, I presume, which is hiding on the bottom somewhere. No captain today. Uh, One more daimyo probably. So if you play a daimyo and then play a captain, it doesn't do what you ideally want it to do, which is double play the captain. Daimyo plays non-command cards. So you play a daimyo, then you play captain. Captain's also a command card, so daimyo doesn't replay the captain. It replays whatever the captain played. So if you play daimyo, play captain, play a town, the daimyo will copy the town. The tragic scenario of having too many good cards in hand, having to discard some. Yeah, painfully good starting hand. I think you just pitch the towns. Actually, it's not clear. Okay, Josh does that anyway. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Uh, the Daimyos don't stay out with the captain either because they didn't play the captain. Uh, so normally there's some red flags that go off when you're playing anything throne room like on a duration because the throne room gets stuck out of play with the duration, which is usually not ideal. But in this case, for the same reason the Daimyo doesn't get to copy the captain's effect, it's not going to stick out of play with the captain. I'm gonna say priest twice. You really want to trash these coppers? Nope. Nope. Johnson just wants to draw all the cards. Isn't this one captain your only means of trashing cards, or am I making that up? I confess I'm somewhat surprised by that choice. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Uh, the 5-2 didn't look great there at a glance, but the Ninja Open was pretty impressive. Fun fact about John, he actually did work part-time as a ninja in college to pay for his tuition. All right. Kingdom number 2. Uh, so many cards for Weaver to gain. Weaver can gain more Weavers. What else do you need? Uh, so your draw looks like Cursed Village here, which is not bad because there's decent action-based payload in the form of Kitsune and Butcher and Wheelwright and Pirate. There's a bunch of stuff you can do in the action phase. Looks like the goal's probably gonna be like gain golds and butcher them, for example, or gain actions, butcher those. Uh, Cursed Village is also the main village. Kitsune is also a village. You got Citadel's also a village. For trashing, Butcher, Alter, Forge. I think Forge looks like clearly the worst of those three. I'd want to Butcher the Estates and then Alter the Coppers, probably. Um, no plus buy, but you get plenty of gains, so that'll be fine. How do they open? Fortune Hunter Silver, okay. Um, yeah, I think Fortune Hunter Silver is probably correct. You can do double silver as well. Fortune Hunter Silver is probably a bit more likely to hit five, which is, or actually, it's yeah, it's definitely Fortune Hunter Silver. Um, because this also gives you a much better chance of hitting six, not just five. And if you can get an altar, I'd take an altar. The biggest downside of Fortune Hunter, I mean, one downside is that it's terminal. So if you plan on adding terminals like altar, it's gonna be annoying sooner than a second silver is. The other downside is if you haven't hit five already on turn three, and then you see the Fortune Hunter turn four, playing it triggers a shuffle, so that even if you did hit five or six, you're not going to see that card that you bought as quickly. But I think the upside of being more likely to hit five as well as more likely to hit six, I think is more than worth it. Anyways, they're getting going pretty quickly here. Haka hits altar turn three, which is excellent. And Kitsune turn four. That's just a ridiculously good shuffle there. Six plus five. Meanwhile, jonts gains a second Fortune Hunter. Eh. And then, yeah, here we see jonts does manage to hit six off the Fortune Hunter, but with the downside of you triggered the shuffle already, so you're not going to see that altar nearly as quickly as Haka is. I just have to assume Haka's in the driver's seat here, based on that. Kitsune plus Progress is pretty annoying. Uh, Progress is activated once Kitsune has been played five total times, and then whether you like it or not, everything you gain gets gained straight to the top of your deck, which in some cases can be really helpful. But when it's your opponent giving you curses, you're not too happy to gain three curses straight to the top of your deck. It's like a Ghost Ship attack. I'm so happy Ghost Ship doesn't exist anymore. Ghost Ship was this first edition Seaside card that said plus two cards, and then each opponent with five more cards, or however many. Top decks two cards. Or maybe it's top decks until they have three cards in hand. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was just like, it was like a militia, except instead of discarding, you top decked a bunch. And that's just so much worse. Not that militia is a good card. Um, but uh, like if you're discarding stuff, you're at least seeing your good cards and cycling through your deck, and you're not hitting high numbers or anything, but you're getting places. Whereas with Ghost Ship, if one person got it really quickly, the other person it would often be like five turns until they caught up to even just having with their Ghost Ship because they're putting the junk on top, and they're drawing it the next turn, and they're putting the junk on top, and they're drawing it the next turn, and you're just not making any progress through your deck. And I think something similar happens here, where if you're the first person to play Kitsune after the progress is activated, the opponent's getting a bunch of crystals on top, so then finding their Kitsunes, and then you're playing yours again more quickly, and your just compounds really fast. Yeah, I'm looking at John's having negative 5 points already, and thinking something like that is happening here. Very fast one. Alrighty, what have we got here? Crew plus rope is not a bad monolithic deck. Well, that's probably not the best thing you can be doing here. Um, You just buy a bunch of ropes, buy one copy of Crew. As long as you find at least one rope per turn, then you'll have plus one card at the start of next turn. So you top deck your Crew first, then you resolve your rope, you draw your Crew, and you find that single Crew every single turn, and you just always got a seven card hand, which is really nice. Plus, rope's not a bad card in the first place. So like, click one Crew, a bunch of ropes, some other treasures by province is a reasonably good deck. But here you get Artificer, which is a nice payload. You get a bunch of villages and draw cards. I think you can do something more ambitious here, most likely. Okay, they both have been rope silver. Yeah, I mean, Crew is still, I think, going to be a good card regardless, especially since you have ropes anyway. I don't think you're just sufficing with Crew and nothing else. Although maybe they will. Maybe they'll just play big money. Mhm. Pair of ports is my guess. It's not entirely clear. Another rope. Herald. Did not anticipate that. Why did you want to top deck your artificer so badly? I don't understand. I mean, not that Herald's a terrible card or anything. but that was not even slightly on my radar. Um, Maybe the plan is going to be pitch four, top deck a rope and draw into it. It you Yeah, you got to spend all your money. That's the rule. Um, if Johns hadn't gotten a rope into play, I could understand the Herald. If you're thinking, shoot, I'm about to top deck my crew and I'm gonna have no way to draw it into my hand that turn. I want to make sure I have a cantrip in my starting hand so I can draw the crew that way. But he did have a rope, so he's gonna draw the crew naturally. I don't understand the Herald. Okay, so he does do the Artificer gains a rope thing. Forager, I guess, is maybe better than nothing. It's not entirely clear. You certainly don't need the Forager to get thin when these decks are got a bunch of ropes in them. You can always enhance it later, I suppose. We buy his Hakha village banquet for crew. He's got a forager in hand. Never mind. Villager and or villages and enhance the forager into a second crew. Sounds pretty good to me. Surely this forager is dying. That seems non-negotiable. I think I would like a second crew already. Wonder what else Hakka is contemplating. Silver. I don't know about that. Have my doubts. All right. Now, Johns is going to do it right. Johns, for sure, is going to buy a pair of ports and then enhance his forager into a crew. I can feel it. Right? Right, Johns? Please? You can't play with too many crews. Um, it gets a little bit risky. Like if you have five crews all exactly on top of your deck, and then you don't find a village in your starting hand, then you draw one of those crews off your rope. You play that crew. You drew all your other crews dead. Now the rest of your shuffle is shot because all your draw cards got clumped up and didn't get played. Uh, so a crew is usually better in small numbers. Johns, you too? You? I had such misplaced faith. Two still seems like a fine number of crews to me. If you have a Herald in your starting hand, you know with 100% certainty it's going to hit those crews. I like Skulk for payload. The Skulk can be enhanced too. Yeah, I could totally see taking Skulk here at some point. I don't think we've reached the point where they need a Skulk quite yet. But when it's time to add payload, I think you could totally gain a Skulk here. Just Ports and Diplomat, I guess. No Diplomat to the terminal space isn't needed. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I want the Diplomat for the +2 cards, not the Village effect. So you're going to have all the terminal space in the world with port, but you need some sort of draw. I don't think you want to have the draw be five crews. And I certainly would not mind adding a diplomat if I have a bunch of ports in my deck. Jot Jots. Now listen here, you little shit. That is not acceptable. How would you crash your port and gain a... This is upsetting me. I don't like what's happening here. Again, if you wanted a gold, I think Proem had a good point about you could get a gold that comes with a skulk, and then you can enhance the skulk into something. I don't think we're at that stage yet. Like I think the time that I would want to add a skulk is all right. I'm drawing my deck, and I've got a little bit of excess draw. Let me gain a skulk mid turn off of the artificer and draw that with my last crew, and then I can enhance it straight away. I assume does John have another rope down there? Yeah, hadn't found it yet. Okay, we want a lot of ports and a diplomat, I guess. Drawing cards good. It's the word on the street. And imagine if you had more than one port in your deck already. Undoing. I don't know, diplomat and a skull. I would rather. Like, Skulk seems like the best card to be gaining off of Artificer. This is a card you don't want to find in your starting hand, so you don't really want to buy it at the end of the previous turn and then risk, having a terrible draw because of it. But it's just a bunch of payload all at once. So I'd rather draw the deck first, gain the Skulk, and then draw into the Skulk. Wouldn't mind more ropes, but this is probably not the turn to buy an additional rope. You got two coming out of play, only one going into play. Rope is a card I'd consider potentially buying on the following turn. Hmm. The Herald. Why did you need to top deck that? Hey, bought another silk. I don't. And Hakka's over there dudding. Second crew, I would expect. Surely to second crew, you've only got one draw card in your whole deck. I guess Herald's kind of a draw card. Um, yeah, like if you see a Herald in your starting hand, you can always choose to resolve any ropes in play first, and then top deck the crews afterwards. And you know your top two cards in your deck are both crews, and so if you play a Herald, it's always going to hit. Okay. Hmm. Not quite enough draw to want a Skulk right here, I don't think. What about pitch 5 and gain a crew? You would draw four of those cards back, and then bottom deck a card, but that's okay. Yeah, I think that's the play. Gain to play a crew here. I'm just not convinced these decks should have any heralds in them at any point. It's like if you offered me a free herald, I'd certainly take it. It's a fine card to have in the deck. If for some reason I had a expected dud coming up, maybe the overpay could save something. Uh, these decks have plenty of treasures, so Herald it's like a lost city if it hits, but it's only hitting about maybe a little over half the time. And there's like more ports and crews, artificers and diplomats, so it's better to me. Okay, good. All right, Jonts is learning. Draw is good. Uh, Port Rope Diplomat. I want all the ports. Uh, it's not really significant winning the split or anything. There's other sources of village. Mining Word's a village. You can make diplomatic village here without too much work with Artificer. Herald is a village when it hits. But Port is definitely the most efficient village. Johnson the Heralds. And Hakha. What? They really want both of them. Good for you, Hakha. Finally thought Diplomat gained. Oh, look at these Heralds go. What a powerful card. Alright, we've buffed the Forager. There's now silver in the trash. A third crew. No, that's just a second crew. How many? I don't know how many Hakka has. I think that's just Hakka's second crew of the game. Yeah, John's has three already. Hmm, 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 hmm. We got a lot of draw here. Is that enough to consider gaining an Artificer and then playing a second Artificer? Probably not quite that much draw. Oh, no, John thinks it is. Maybe so. Yeah, this looks good. Um, one more crew, probably. You got to consider that Johnson's deck does have a million ports in it, and a non-zero number of heralds. Like, what are the odds that he finds none of his seven ports or three heralds in a six-card starting hand? I think those odds are pretty bad. 13. Doesn't want to take on 13. You have to find two ports just to, that's true. You do need two. So if you have one port, you draw one crew, you draw the rest of your crews. You do need to find two of them. That still seems like pretty good odds to me, just given how villageful the deck is. If you find an artificer, you could even discard four cards and gain a mining village mid-turn or a herald and save your turn that way. What did he end up doing with that second artificer? He just played it? You went to all the work to get a second artificer and you didn't even use it? No, that's third artificer. His second artificer also gained an artificer. Okay, never mind, that makes sense. Alright, we see Sculpt gained and the province. How do I feel about the province? Seems like a turn or two too early to me. There's not that many buys and gains in this kingdom. You have a few buys per turn. Odds aren't that low. And maybe you don't particularly want more crews in your deck after 3 or 4, but you can always add additional mining villages, diplomats, and even heralds if you want to keep building. Hakha should probably pitch 5 cards and gain another crew here. And then ideally I'm not sure exactly how much draw Hakha has, but ideally you draw back around and then gain something else. Okay, now just a diplomat, that works too. Diplomat's also a draw card. That seems like a bad order, right? So he had heralds in hand. Then he played his diplomats and his crews when there were action cards coming up, and then waited to play the heralds until he had a discard pile full of things he knew were treasures because he just discarded all of those. I think he just missed it on a draw or two there. I mean, he's drawn the deck anyway. I'm not sure if that would have been enough draw to make a difference. Potentially, if you have extra draw, you can convert that into payload via Artificer. Haka does look fairly behind to me. It take third crew? Maybe Banquet here? Haka has these foragers. I'm not sure. With 11, 2 4s and a Banquet would look decent. Haka, top decks an Artificer with Herald. Why was it important to top deck an Artificer with Herald? I guess to activate the Diplomats? He doesn't want to bottom deck the Artificers and then his Diplomats fail? I don't know. Yeah, the Herald is guaranteed to hit, but he didn't actually top deck the Herald. He top decked the Artificer. Or, given that Johnson's already in the greening phase, I'd expect another province or two here, probably. Looks like you've got enough draw to gain something nice. What is that gonna be? Another crew? Okay. Ooh! I enjoy watching that happen. I feel like that's justice, both for taking the heralds and for not enhancing those foragers sooner. That is a lot of yellow cards on top. Uh, you can pitch forward Artificer, gain a Diplomat, and then draw some of these. Yep. Don't want to leave all that junk on top. And this is a situation, yeah, yeah. This is the first Herald I've been on board with. This is a true emergency Herald. Oops, I top decked 3 treasures. My odds of drawing a village are much lower than usual. Top deck a Herald, and then you've got a guaranteed Herald connection next turn. First, oh, he's going to buy something else and top deck that too, I guess. That's why he's not doing. I expect him to still buy the Herald. He's probably going to buy a second 4 cost card, like a mining village or something. Then buy the Herald and overpay 2 and top deck both, is my guess. Silver count as a yellow card. Yes. Maybe it counts as a green card since it's yellow and blue. Alrighty, Haka now has plenty of draw. I would expect at least one Skulk gain this turn. That's gonna be the quickest way to add payload. Probably about time for these foragers to die as well. Does Haka just have like no treasures? Yeah, the only golds are in Jonts' deck. One from the Skull, one from the Sacrilege. And Jonts no, Haka bought a silver at some point. Oh, but he trashed it. Trying to figure out if there's any treasures down there. Played a silver and copper on turn 12. Are those the ones that he trashed? No, the bottom two cards must be silver and copper then, right? Yeah, so they're both treasures. So you don't want to play a Herald next. Interesting order. Oh, he's trying to get his hand size small enough to activate a big diplomat, I guess. So now you can play Herald. No, never mind, you can't. I was gonna say you top deck two Skulk. You just drew one of the Skulks, so you're still gonna hit a treasure if you play the Herald now. So you lead with a diplomat. One more diplomat. In general, if you've got Herald and other cantrips, you tend to want to play the Herald last. Uh, for cards that find other cards that you want to find, like Herald finds action cards, which are usually pretty high priority to find, you tend to want to play the blank cantrips, like Port, for example, first, and then finish off with playing a Herald. Like if you had three Ports and a Herald, and your next draw card, like a Crew or something, was the fifth card from the top of your deck. Three Ports and a Herald guarantees you find that Crew if it's anywhere in the top five. Whereas you play Herald first or Herald in the middle of the ports, you're only going to find that Crew if it was somewhere in the top four. Um, by contrast, cards that draw cards that you don't really want to draw, like Will-O-Wisp or Vagrant, where they draw like jump cards off the top of your deck. Generally, you want to play those early and then play the uh, generic cantrips to go port later. Because then, if you had like a bunch of coppers and a crew, you'd want to draw the coppers off first, and then your port would draw into the crew. Does Johnson win this turn? Probably not. He's behind in points. Wouldn't totally rule it out. Let's see. Enhanced does give you a lot of extra reach, actually. Maybe there could be a pilot here on Crews and Heralds. Let's see. Let's say you pitch five cards, gain a crew. You got six cards down there. You draw one of them. There's five left. You pitch five more cards. You gain a crew. Now there's, let's see, you had five. You drew one. You had four. Now you have 10 cards down there after playing two artificers, crew, diplomat, port. He's gonna draw like nine of those 10 cards. So you could almost draw everything. Um, then there'd be one crew, three heralds left. Um, Gaining crew is like negative three cards, right? Um, so you're discarding five cards, but you're gaining a card that's plus two cards. So yeah, I think there's some sense when you could think about it as being negative three cards. Uh, anyway, so I think you could draw all but one thing. Unless I'm miscounting. And then you would need to you could enhance a gold into a province. How many buys do you have in that scenario? You need to buy one, two, three, four, five, six things. He does have six buys. So enhancing gold in the province is effectively like buying province for six. Then you would need 12 money for the herald, 17 to get the crew, 19 to get an estate, 25. Yeah, I don't think there's a pile out here, is my conclusion. I think crew herald would be the simplest one. I haven't really looked at, I don't know, an estate pilot or something. Oh, banquet does change the numbers. That's a good point. Okay, let me revise that really fast. So you need 8 money to take a points lead. Um, and then you need 12 money. So you only need to hit 20, not 25. Yeah, it does save a decent bit. Um, can you do 20 here? 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 8. Oh, maybe he does have it. Um, hmm. Is this deterministic though? Like I said, I thought the way I counted it, it looked like you end up bottom decking a card. So if you bottom decked a province or a rope, oh, actually, no. The only cards that would be safe to bottom deck would be actually just the province, right? You can't afford to bottom deck a rope because you need all the buys to pile out. And if you bottom deck any of the other treasures, you don't have enough money left. So I think this is one draw short of a guaranteed win, unless I'm miscounting, which is very possible. Uh, let's double check that really fast. So if you see, you've got, let's count this another way. You've got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 extra cards worth of draw, right? Pitch 10 cards, gain 2. It feels like you should be able to draw that. Did I miscount the first time? Pitch 5 cards, you gain a crew. There's 6 cards down there. You play a port, for example. You drew the crew. There's 5 cards down there. You pitch 5 more cards, the artificer. You've drawn the previous crew. Now there's 10 cards down there. You have 2 crews which draw 6 each. Diplomat which draws 2, and one more artificer. Oh, I'm not gonna. You have 3. You're playing 3 crews. This crew plus. Yeah. Okay, never mind. This is a win. Yeah, this is a win. I'm pretty darn sure now. I think I miscounted the draw earlier. Um, right? I think if you pitch 5 cards twice, gaining 2 crews, you can still draw your whole deck, and then you play the Skulk, you have 6 buys. You have, if you don't play one of the golds, you'll have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18 money. Then you banquet 4 times, it costs 12. You have 6 money left. You buy an estate, you enhance the last gold in the province at the win. Isn't Jonts a math person? Engineering, chemistry, something like that? What's his excuse? Humanities? Doesn't sound like Jonts. I don't think I've ever heard him described as humane. Fun fact about Jonts, his dad actually used to work in a mining village, so he just always got coal for Christmas, even when he was a good boy. You can do it, Jonts. You're gonna find it. I believe in you. This is has played the only one scene, I think. Looks like there are 11 left. Yeah. Uh, so the only other hex that would definitely be relevant would be Misery, would make the numbers easier. You don't want to count him. The jonts is in a winning position here. He doesn't have to win this turn. So you wouldn't want to take a gamble on a line that only won if you got a lucky hex. So yeah, Misery would be -2 victory points. It's like a 1 in 11 shot. Then you have a 1 in 11 chance of hitting Locust, which then further has a what? How many cards on Hakha? The Hakha's got 20 cards in his deck and 2 victory cards. So you have a 1 in 11 chance of hitting Locust, which has a 1 in 10 chance of hitting Hakha's province. I don't think the hexes change anything in this case. Like, if you were losing and you had a pile out that was like a roughly 1 in 10 chance to win, maybe you go for that. Oh, he gave up. I think all the other stuff is too gain limited, right? The line that I was just looking at just barely had enough gains to pile Crew and Herald, and there's no other piles that are lower. Oh, yeah, oh, that's a good point. Maybe this is 5 provinces? That sounds unlikely, but I mean, an enhance plus golds does do some work. I'm not seeing it. All right, Kai's fearful. Yeah, so for sure there's no Herald pile out here. You're 2 gains short. I don't know, 1 gain short. Is a rope that's not played yet. Um, Keeping the golds in hand. I don't think you're taking 2 provinces here. Be a little bit worried about Hakka's deck taking 4 provinces. So you enhance 1 gold, you buy like 2 duchies, and you have 8 money left for 2 more mining villages. Something like that. Not the heralds. Jonts. You're lower in the lowest pile. And we're trashing the I liked the diplomat. What's wrong with the diplomat? Okay, so what would be I think Hakka's deck doesn't do as much as Johnson's does, unless I'm mistaken. Probably the easiest pile out here would be is 4 provinces easier than 5 duchies and 2 heralds? I'm not sure. As Hakka, I think you for sure want to win this turn if you can. Uh, wouldn't want to count on getting another turn after this. I don't know if his deck can win this turn. How many golds does H have? He gained 2 skulks last turn. Did he trash any of those golds? He trashed both of those golds. I think the answer is 0. There's 3 in the trash. There's 1 in Johnson's hand. Did he play? How many golds did he play last turn? Yeah, Johnson played 2 golds last turn. And the other 3 are all in the trash. 15 money for 5 duchies. How do you fit? You can't banquet for duchies. That's cheating. I guess if you had 5 extra cards in your hand, you could spend 15 money and enhance 5 things into duchies. Yeah, scrounge is a lot of points. Uh, scrounge is the 3 cost. Scrounge is very similar to the 2 events that we have here. It's also 3 cost and gains with a drawback. That's the one that lets you gain an estate from the trash to gain a card costing up to 5, which gaining an estate is often worse than 2 coppers early on. But in the end game, gaining an estate to gain a duchy is like 4 points for 3 money, which is an excellent return on your money points scoring. In general, the cards go up in money efficiency. Let's see, what's the rate here? An estate is half a victory point per coin. A duchy is like 60% of victory point per coin. And a province is 75%. Whereas if you're scrounging, you're paying 3 money for 4 victory points. So you're over 100% ratio. You score a lot of points off a scrounge, provided there are estates in the trash. First 2 games flew by. This one has taken quite a while. Okay, so what pilot are we looking for? I think it's either heralds and duchies or provinces. Um, I believe it's 1-1. Game 1 was Hakha getting ninja to death. Game 2 was gonna be like a cursed village altar draw to X thing. And oh yeah, Kitsune plus progress happened and Jonts just got buried in curses. Okay, I've been thinking. I'll find something. We also have 5 crews. We also have 3 ropes and a herald on top. Hmm. See if we can't find something here. What's in the discard? Haka. Why does he have a diplomat in the discard? Oh, there's a port and a diplomat in the discard from famine. Okay. Um, and Haka's bottom card is what? What else might you have in your deck, Haka? Well, the province. So province on top, port and diplomat in the discard. Um, what's the best way to gain things here? Playing the artificer. Provinces just look hard to do with no golds in the deck. If you had golds, then enhancing in a province would look pretty good. You could discard and gain sculpts, but then you gotta draw all those golds. You don't have that much draw. Yeah, I don't think Haka has a win here. Which I think means Haka's about to lose. But maybe these foragers come in clutch. He does have 4 things in the trash now. That's a lot of money. Hmm. 5 duchies and 2 heralds is just really expensive. Plus, you need the buys for it. And you've now trashed one of your ropes. Hmm. Yeah, that diplomat gain confirms Hakha is not looking for a pile out this turn. He's just gonna pray that he gets another turn. I don't think it's gonna happen, but doesn't look like he's got a better option here. I'd play this skull. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. If you're really hoping on John studding, you're looking for a good hex. Although, like, what's the best hex that you get here? Envious, maybe? I don't think Envious does enough. Haunting? You go look at the hexes. What's been seen already? Play, the four skulks have been played. We've seen Plague, Fear, Famine, and Bad Omens. Delusion wouldn't matter at all. Envy would hurt a bit. John has a bunch of treasures, but like if you're enhancing the golds, it doesn't hurt that much. We saw Fear. Greed would be a very mild nuisance. Haunting, very mild nuisance. Locust, not too significant, I don't think. War, not too significant. Poverty is probably one of the worst. Yeah. All right. Game four. So we've got gear for draw. Also Magpie if you happen to reveal treasures. Sybil in the Augur's pile. For villages, anything can be Way of the Ox, which is a fairly weak village. For example, Ox plus gear isn't netting you draw. But there's also Royal Carriage. For trashing, you got plenty of thinning. Scrap, Bounty Hunter, Pickaxe, Island, Sewers even. And then plus buy comes from Scrap, or the loot's from Pickaxe, or most of these say plus buy on them, or Herb Gatherer. I would worry about emptying islands. So Magpie is a card that you click one of those and it's gonna naturally empty itself. You got Ironworks, which is pretty good at gaining islands because you get the action and the card. So that's two piles right there that empty pretty quickly. So if you just take a bunch of Ironworks, empty the islands, and then you just empty the rest of the Ironworks, that's a scary rush. This is a pretty strong kingdom though. Like if you just play big money here, you'd be hitting multiple provinces pretty quickly. So I wouldn't count on the island rush to outpace just like gear bounty hunter with like a pickaxe and buying provinces quick. Not to mention like the cards you're clicking, I think, to play something simple and big money like are not too different from the cards you're clicking to build an engine. Like you probably want bounty hunter gear and magpie anyway. And the question is whether you click province early or add royal carriages and try to draw your deck. Um, and so like if you, I think money is usually better. I think at countering the rushes than engines are because you score more points early. And if I'd started with like a year and a bounty hunter with intent to build an engine, I saw my opponent going for ironworks, it might be my province a little bit sooner. This is not a real rush. Island and ironworks sounds like a real thing to me with Magpie around. I would definitely think about it. I think the rest of the kingdom looks strong enough to beat it, but I would call it a real rush. That's just a pretty straightforward path to emptying three piles pretty quick. See what we did. Magpie Scrap versus Scrap Sewers. I think I like Magpie and Scrap better. Uh, hmm. Yeah, I don't mind taking Sewers. Scrap's obviously better at killing estates, and then Sewers can deal with the coppers. I think frequently, if there's a, say, a four that you decently much want, I would rather take the Trasher, take the other thing, and then if you don't find the Trasher turn 3, you can buy Sewers turn 3. But then you still got two good things into your shuffle before you shuffled your deck. Obviously, maybe you find the Scrap turn 3 and then you don't get as much benefit out of it. But supposing you had a hand of like Scrap, Estate, 3 coppers. Treasure copper there, you're not hitting any decent number, right? I guess you could scrap the estate for card plus coin and probably hit 4 off of that. I would for sure want a bounty hunter here. I'm not sure if you open with it. I think I like delaying the bounty hunter. Uh, the fives are reasonably good, but I don't think this is like a scenario we need to get to pickaxe ASAP. It's okay if I don't hit 5, turn 3, or turn 4. Um, I think I like the scrap magpie idea. And then you add a bounty hunter shortly after, which is what Hakha did. Yeah, for sure, I think you want a bounty hunter. I think it is reasonable not to open with it. Exiles a few things, and yeah, you could either trash it with pickaxe, or once you got victory cards, you can keep running exile stuff with it. Um, I guess it's a bit of a pivot point for the deck. A real character definitely signifies you're trying to build a real engine, which looks like Hakka is. I would still look out for like even if you've got a deck that you're trying to get deck control in, you throw an Ironworks on that deck, then that Ironworks gains you a few more Ironworks, and all of a sudden you're threatening an island pile out. Um, Nothing that says you have to go straight for it. It's still a thing that will be relevant in a few turns. Uh, I would assume you set aside Scrap Estate and pickaxe the Magpie. It might be less true if Johnson doesn't have very many magpies, though. Gains a Magpie. Okay, that might be Johnson's only Magpie, actually. Hmm, change things a little bit. Alright, we trashed the Scrap and trashed the Estate. Seems reasonable. Uh, Picking more Magpies. And the Bounty Hunter? Ironworks already, okay. And the birds can be cruel. This is the upside, though, of opening with Magpie, is they duplicate themselves, and then all of a sudden, you bought one turn one, you've got like 9 of them. I'm expecting the scrap to get trashed here, and the Magpie set aside. Bottom card is a Magpie, I presume. What else might you do? You could scrap a Magpie into Force plus Silver. Maybe that's better, yeah. Um, so let's say you scrap a Magpie, you take action, coin, horse, silver. You play the magpies, hopefully you get a magpie. Either way, you draw the silver. You could scrap the horse. You probably afford to set aside these coppers. All right, yeah, this line looks like it's working out pretty well for Hakka. Surely you play this mag. Like, why scrap the or why pickaxe the magpie when you could just draw the horse and the silver and pickaxe the horse? This seems like a strange time to be waiting. Haka, what? Don't understand that one. Ironworks game makes sense. Second pickaxe makes less sense to me. I would think a second royal carriage looks better there. Yeah, hammer looks quite good here, I would say. A lot of good force to gain. This looks pretty lost for Johns, I would think. We've just now gotten rid of our first two coppers. Wait, how is that even possible? Are these your first two coppers trash? Didn't you open with sewers? You opened with scrap and sewers and haven't trashed a copper yet? Oh, bottom necked is scrap. That's pretty nasty. But then he trashed a second estate. That's awkward too. Ah, still don't love the scrap sewers opening. Feel like we're still seeing the ramifications of that. All right, to Osaka, I think you take a few more ironworks here. How many more can you reasonably play? At least one more for sure. Gain ironworks, draw it, play it. No, we're taking the island directly. I guess maybe he wants to bounty hunt it already. No, I'm gonna say that's wrong. I feel like if you played an ironworks, gained an ironworks, drew it with the horse, played another ironworks, you could have still, if you gain an island off of that, you would have drawn the island off of the ironworks draw, and then still been able to bounty hunt the island, and you would have been totally fine. Bell scroll seems great to me. Turn that into royal carriage. Like I would rather a royal carriage in my deck than a loot, I would think. Hmm. I would expect province by here. Oh, well, spell scroll is terrible if you're gonna do that. Come on, Hakha. You're gonna need two provinces. I would have thought something like play the spell scroll, gain a royal carriage. The spell scroll would set it aside for the next turn. Play the puzzle box and set aside the silver. And then you got, I think, 11 money after that. And then you buy a province, buy a gear, for example. And then you've got extra gear and a royal carriage in your deck. You're easily drawing. With overdraw, you can do more ironworks gains and then pile the islands. I liked one province because it's a natural target for the bounty hunter. Seemed reasonable. Two seems unnecessary to me. Uh, I guess you set aside province silver here. You want to keep one province in hand to exile it? Neither. That's maybe he's gonna try to set aside with island. Do you have much draw? No, no, you do not. No plus buy for you. So that might feel unlucky. Remember, the Haka has a pickaxe down there, and he's not drawing it because he took too many provinces last turn. and it didn't add additional actions or draw cards. And Hakka's still definitely gonna win this. Set aside royal carriage copper, and staff plays the gear. I guess he's considering maybe the gear could be a target for the pickaxe. Yeah, magpie looks better. Prize goat, pretty good loot for jonts. Interesting choice taking the last two islands. Do I agree with that or not? Probably it makes sense. Just because they're close to free gains for Hakha off of the Ironworks. Uh, like it's not better for your deck, but if you don't take them, Hakka's gonna get them for free. It doesn't really undermine what Hakka's planning to do here because he can just pickaxe the Ironworks now. Might have even been a pile out here. Ironworks gains Ironworks and then buy out the rest of them. Okay, what have we here? First thing jumping out to me is Mastermind and Supplies is a nice little synergy. If you get Mastermind set up, you're always going to have a horse in your starting hand, which is pretty nice. So that's probably the main draw. Mastermind, play a horse a bunch of times. You can also draw with Witch and Moat and Stowaway and even Wishing Well, maybe. Main village is Mastermind. Potentially you play with University as well. Trashing. Is it just Bounty Hunter? I think it's just Bounty Hunter, so Witch looks mildly annoying. Uh, and then plus buy. Any action card can be plus buy. Plus you can get loots off of Peril. Sycophant goes with Cave Dwellers, which looks okay. Okay, John has the natural 2/5, which looks good here. Supplies plus Overlord. I was expecting supplies plus Witch. Is Overlord better? Maybe? The upside of taking Overlord over Witch is once the curses are out, for example, you can pivot to playing Overlord or something else. Or maybe there's certain circumstances where you'd rather play Overlord as Witch even with curses left. Like if you have another Witch coming up, you play that Overlord as Mastermind. No, you can't because Overlord's text changed recently to say non-duration now. Um, I think I prefer Supplies Witch on the 2/5. I think it's just going to be Witch often enough that the flexibility isn't too valuable early on, and you could buy something turn 3. You could buy an Overlord even turn 3. On the 3/4, was it 4/3 that Hakka had? Hakka had the 4/3 and just opened with Bounty Hunter Overlord. Riskier play could be spinning the Cave Dwellers turn 1 to draw an extra card, discard your estate. Then maybe you hit 5, and if you do, you get to shuffle in a nice 5-cost card. Yeah, I think you do the Cave Dwellers turn 1 on the 4/3. If you hit 5, you get to shuffle in a Witch that you're going to see most likely turn 3. Not 100% guaranteed, but quite likely. If you miss, you could just buy an Overlord and do the same thing anyway. I think the curses look pretty annoying. I mean, Bounty Hunter Overlord is still a fine opening. Looks like 2 curses apiece. Hakka is going for University, as is Jots. The mild annoyance with the University is potion cost cards and debt cost cards don't mix. Like if you're trying to hit 2 in a potion, you really don't want to be in debt. But Overlord's a card that you'd otherwise be very happy to click a bunch of times here. Maybe not that many times, actually. I think I'm not recalibrated to Overlord not being able to play duration cards anymore. Overlord's a lot weaker here when it can't play Mastermind than when it can. I've lost track of the game score. Let me look that up really fast. Is 2 all. Ooh, that was a nasty play. What are you doing with this Overlord? Looks like plus buy is pretty useful. Maybe it's just a monkey. Hakha has played the Overlord as a witch and is deliberating whether giving out a curse is better than taking plus buy. I'm gonna say plus buy looks worth it. Not entirely clear. Nope, he just wants another curse. So Jots has 6 curses and Hakha has 2. That's not good. How did you lose the curse split so bad? Was it just that one mastermind? Jots found his witch turn 3, and again turn 5. I played the Overlord as a bounty hunter turn 7. I don't remember what was happening turn 7 that Overlord as a bounty hunter for 0 money looked better than giving out a curse. Maybe he was just about to trigger a shuffle or something? Not sure. It sure looks like this ought to have broken a lot more evenly than it did. Jonta's now like a million miles behind on curses, despite having what looked like pretty good draws for the first few turns. Alright, where's this going now? Gantz has exiled more stuff, considering he's got what? 8 to 2. He had 6 more curses in his deck. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna say this one's already looking pretty much one for Hakha. It was a very lucky reveal. Hakha had these 2 actions that he couldn't play. Into Wish for University and it happened to be the top card. Who has the supplies? Does Jonth have both? Yes. So Hakka's gonna need. What just happened? Hakka's gonna need his supplies pretty soon, I would think. Probably multiples even. Like I said, you want to be top decking the horse, I would think, once you get these masterminds in your deck. He's just gonna resign. Okay, fair enough. 3-2 for Hakka going into the final game. What we got in this kingdom? Uh, Not a lot. There's not a lot going on here. Prince only has some very risky targets. Uh, there's not really anything in the way of draws or actions or Yeah, anything. So, what do you do here? I think you're going for provinces. Marshland plus estates could often be a surprisingly strong source of points, but I feel like that deck is countered worse by Road Network, so it has to gain a lot more total victory cards. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's how I'm feeling right now. Rats? Every rats you gain comes with a silver. Interesting. You could start with rats early, gain a bunch of silvers, and then trash them with Jack of all trades or modify or temple. I think I would think about rats here at the very least. I think Yeah, I think the things I'd be waffling between are basically just very simple Jack of all trades into maybe a modify or something similar but mixing in rats. And the rat's the biggest question mark to me. I feel like if I'm on the fence, I'm probably clicking the rats. I don't know if that's strategically correct, but it's for sure what I would do. We'll see if these players have joy in their hearts. Johnson's the 5-2, which is probably slightly better, I think, over modify over Jack of all trades. It's still close. All right, there we go. Now will Hakha follow suit? Was hoping to see this. Hakka, where's your rats? Right. This is this is the turn where Hakka's gonna gain the rats. He's gonna remodel the estate into rats. I can feel it. I wanted to see Johnson win the monastery, I think. Uh was monastery better than nothing? Unclear to me. Like if you line it up with two coppers and two estates, that's just absolutely tragic. If you see it with three coppers and an estate, you can buy a silver, I guess, and that's okay. I'm not sure that monastery is better than nothing. Maybe on a later $2 turn when you've got a slightly better deck and more gains coming in. Rats plus Monastery is a fun opening. Because, yeah, if you line up Rats and Monastery, this Rats is gaining you two cards. That Monastery is going to trash a bunch. Oh, yeah, new favorite opening Monastery Rats, I think. Clearly correct. If we even needs anything else. Haka, do you not have your Rats yet? Gold Mine. What are you doing over? I guess Gold Mine is not so bad with Modify around. Gold is a good target to trash in the Bromets. They're trashing the Jack of all trades already. Interesting. And in a big money deck, I don't think Jack ever really overstays its welcome. I guess if you weren't going to play it there anyway. Mm-mm. Johnson needs Jack now. Uh, actually, I'm not second guessing the Jack of all trades. Once you've got, I mean, maybe there's still a window for it. The Jack of all trades is going to get weaker with Road Network around because if your opponent's getting any victory cards, your Jack of all trades is actually drawing you zero cards. You're going to have a hand size greater than 5. So you got 7 money. What do you want? One more modify, one more gold and a silver. I think gold and a silver sounds better. About to trigger the shuffle. And then, did I miss something or did we not? Did you just not want a free gold, I guess? I would think this is a deck where you're happy to have sorry, a free silver. Maybe I'm miscounting. Maybe I'm miscounting. He has 7 money. And he had a copper. Oh, I'm confused. Maybe I just miscounted that. A bit of a sad draw. Start hiding one card too deep in the deck. We got 7 money, 3 rats in the hand. If you so this could be Marchland plus Duchy. No, we're playing the rats. That's bold. I think just you buy a Marchland, you discard 3 rats, then you can buy a Duchy. This line doesn't work quite as well because if you buy the Marchland, you only have 4 money left instead of 5. Probably Johnson needs one more modify now. He's got even more rats in the deck. Oh, he buys a gold. Uh, gain Marchland, discard rats. Then you've got 11. 2 duchies. If you're going for marshlands, maybe you want. Nah, I don't know. The Again, the problem with the marshland centered strategy is the road network stuff. If you take a bunch of duchies here, your opponent draws more cards. You don't really want to do. It's gonna be hard to come back from behind here because if your strategy involves gaining a larger number of the weaker victory cards, you can't really count on your opponent to dud when they've got like an 8 card hand. So I would expect. Looks pretty good for Hakha, right? Crash a gold into a province and buy a duchy, and then you don't even lose to double province next turn, I think. I guess the other option maybe you're considering is, oh, hmm, is this enough points? Is that Marshland worth enough? This leaves open a risky tie. I don't know if Johnson's deck can realistically do double province, but at least in theory, this opens up a tie if they manage to hit double province. Um, I thought if you weren't going to do province duchy, the other line to consider would be just like trash province into province and buy a province, which is scoring fewer points for you, but it's also lowering the province pile more, which makes it harder to come back. I think I just would have taken province duchy there. I mean, like the upside of this line relative to province duchy is the province marchland line keeps a gold in your deck versus a silver. But like this game's ending before you reshuffle your deck. I would just want one extra point now. Again, Johnson's an awkward spot where if you ignored road network, I think marchlands duchy estate would be pretty immediate here. But that's just a lot of victory cards. And if you're drawing your opponent three more cards, something bad's going to happen. Alrighty, yeah, this is just going to win. Alrighty, is that a 4-2 final score? I believe. Yes, 4-2 for Haka. Haka is back to equity. Now Jonts is 2-4 more. Um, Not surprised Johnson went for the rats there. He actually used to raise show rats as a child. Fun fact there. I think it had potential. I think maybe he did it just a little bit too much. The road network thing, I think, pushes you towards greening early. I don't want to plan on coming back with Merchants or anything like that. So maybe the gold mine was just too much. Maybe it's just like a few rats and modifiers, and you buy province at the earliest opportunity. Not exactly sure. Interesting kingdom though. Anyways, that's the match.